I want to start today with a scenario.
Yeah.
I want you to just picture yourself in a room,
Okay.
and it's a high-stakes room. Maybe it's a boardroom. Maybe it's a pitch meeting with a client you've been chasing for years,
The dream client.
the dream client. And you are objectively the smartest person in that room when it comes to your specific craft.
Yeah.
You know the answers. You can see the path. You know exactly how to fix their problem.
Right. You've put in the 10,000 hours.
Exactly.
Yeah.
10, maybe 15 years honing this very specific skill
Yeah.
set. You are the go-to person, the fixer.
Sounds like a pretty good place to be. I mean, that's what we all strive for, isn't it?
It does, right? It feels
Yeah.
safe. It feels like security. But here is the catch, and this is the really uncomfortable truth we're going to be tackling today.
Uh-oh.
That feeling
Yeah.
of being the fixer, the doer, the most competent pair of hands in the building, that's a cage.
It's the competence cage.
Precisely. And the whole premise of our deep dive today is that this cage, this very competence, is the specific reason you might be stuck at a revenue ceiling. It's why you're working 60, maybe 70 hours a week for a fee that feels,
Mm-hmm.
fine. While someone else,
And you see them. You know who they are.
oh, you see them, and frankly, they seem to do a lot less work than you do. But they're charging 5, 10, maybe 20 times what you charge.
It's a maddening dynamic. We see it all the time. It's the classic technician versus the advisor. The person who knows how to turn the wrench versus the person who just knows which wrench actually matters.
But we're going to go even deeper today than just, work smarter, not harder. The stack of sources we have it's fascinating because
Yeah.
it combines hard-nosed business strategy like specifically how to structure engagements for 25,000 pounds and up.
That practical stuff.
The practical stuff with all things neuroscience. We're talking about Polyvagal Theory. We're talking about the human nervous system as a business tool.
That's not usually what you see in a business proposal, is it?
Not at all. But the argument here, the core argument, is that moving from the useful expert to what one source calls the inarguable authority, or even the elder, it's not a marketing problem.
Right. You can't funnel hack your way out of the competence cage.
You can't. It's an identity shift. And frankly, it requires breaking some very, very deeply held beliefs about what value actually looks like.
And that's really the mission of this deep dive, isn't it? We're looking at what the sources call the expert's paradox.
Yes, explain that.
It's the belief that to double your fees, you have to double your delivery. You have to double your availability. You have to do more of the thing you do.
More hours, more reports, more calls.
More, more, more. But the counterintuitive truth we're going to explore is that to command those elite fees, you actually have to do less. But, and this is the part that trips everyone up, you have to be more.
Do less, be more. It sounds like a bumper sticker, but when you actually try to apply it to your bank account,
Yeah.
it's terrifying.
Of course it is.
Because doing feels like safety. Doing is tangible. It's how we prove we're worth the money.
Precisely. And that fear, that deep-seated need to do to feel safe, is exactly what keeps that cage locked shut.
So let's unpack this. We have a lot to get through. We're going to look at this identity crisis, the expert versus the elder. Then we're going to break down the neuroscience of why your own nervous system is probably sabotaging your sales calls.
That's a big one.
It's a huge one. We also had this wild story about a train station that perfectly illustrates this idea of sovereignty. And then we're going to get really practical with the 4 pillars, the actual structural changes you need to make in your business to make this shift happen.
It really is a comprehensive roadmap from the internal to the external.
Okay, let's start with the trap itself, the expert. I think most of our listeners, myself included, really identify with this. We take pride in being experts.
Of course.
We're the ones who know how the machine works. If a client has a problem, we dive in, we get our hands dirty, and we fix it. Why? Why is that bad?
Well, it's not bad in a moral sense. Competence is the ticket to the game. You can't be a fraud. But there's a huge difference between having competence and selling labor.
Okay.
The source material describes the expert as a master of their craft who is incredibly good at doing. But the unintended consequence of that is something they call labor addiction.
Labor addiction, wow, that hits home. It's that little dopamine hit you get when you solve the puzzle and save the day.
Exactly. You put out the fire. You're the hero. But just step back and look at the dynamic that creates. If you are always the one doing the heavy lifting, if you're the one rushing to fix things, Who does that make the client?
The client is.
Yeah.
Well, they're the one being rescued, the damsel in distress, I guess.
They become dependent. They become addicted to your labor. They're not buying your leadership. They are buying your hands. And the market has a very, very strict ceiling on how much it will pay for a pair of hands.
Because hands are replaceable.
Hands are a commodity. But there's an even deeper psychological issue here, which one source calls the low-frequency trap.
Okay, you have to explain this one, because this is where it starts to get a little prickly, I think.
It does. Think about the energy of being helpful. When you're in that helping mode, rushing to answer an email at 10 p.m., jumping on a call because the client is stressed, over-delivering on a report just to show how much you care.
I think I'm signaling that I'm dedicated, that I'm committed, that I provide great customer service. That's what I'm trying to show.
And that's what you think you're signaling. But to a high net worth leader, the person who signs those 25, 50, 100,000-pound checks, what you're actually signaling subconsciously is subordination.
Ouch.
You're signaling that you're available, that you're reactive, and ultimately that you are a worker.
Wow. So by trying to be the most helpful person in the relationship, I'm actually putting myself in the servant category, not the peer category.
In the context of a lead advisory, yes, 100%. High-level leaders have plenty of people who can do things. They have assistants, they have technicians, they have entire departments full of junior staff. They are not looking for another helper. I mean, they're drowning in helpers.
Right. So what are they looking for? If they don't want me to fix the spreadsheet or write the code, why are they hiring me for that kind of money?
The source argues they are looking for something called holding power.
Holding power. What is that?
They don't want your hours. They want an elder. They want someone who can come into a room that is absolutely chaotic, filled with stress and uncertainty, and just by virtue of their presence completely change the dynamic of that room.
So they're not buying a deliverable.
They're buying a regulated nervous system. They want someone who can hold the weight of the entire situation so that they don't have to anymore.
So the expert sells a solution to a technical problem. The elder sells what? Certainty.
The elder sells an entry point into a higher state of being. They sell clarity. They sell calm in the storm. It's a massive shift.
It's moving from I will do this task for you to I will be this anchor for you.
Correct. And the goal is to command fees based on who you are, your presence, your groundedness, not just what you do, your outputs and your reports.
You know, it reminds me of the difference between a frantic ER doctor and the world-class surgeon. The ER doc is running around sweating, shouting orders. They're doing the most. They're the busiest person there.
Absolutely. Total expert mode.
But then the specialist surgeon walks in slowly. It gets quiet. They look at the chart. They say 2 words. And the entire room shifts and listens to those 2 words.
And who gets paid more per hour?
The one who walks in slowly. Every time.
That is the elder. But, and this is the critical part where we have to get technical, you cannot just act like the elder. You can't just decide to walk slowly and talk less and hope people throw money at you.
It can't be a performance. It has to be real.
It has to be real. And this brings us right to the science. The source material leans really heavily on the work of Dr. Stephen Porges and Polyvagal Theory.
Which, for listeners who haven't spent a deep dive on biology recently, that's something you usually hear about in the context of, like, trauma therapy or yoga. How on earth does this connect to business strategy and pricing?
It is the missing link. It's everything. The source argues that most entrepreneurs, when they have a pricing problem, they try to fix it with better marketing. Oh, I need a better funnel, or I need to rewrite my sales page.
Yeah, the tactical stuff.
The tactical stuff. But the argument here is that the gap between a 10,000-pound engagement and a 25,000-pound engagement is not tactical. It's a nervous system shift.
Okay, so my bank account is directly tied to my neurobiology. Let's break this down.
So polyvagal theory, in a nutshell, explains how our nervous system is constantly scanning the environment for cues of safety or threat. It's a process called meroception. It happens way below your conscious awareness.
Like a biological Wi-Fi signal.
That's a perfect analogy. We are constantly broadcasting our internal state to the people around us, and we are constantly reading theirs. So let's look at the expert mode nervous system through that lens.
Okay.
When you are the expert, when you're trying to prove your value, justify your high fee, trying to be super helpful, what's your physiological state? If you're really honest with yourself.
If I'm honest, it's high beta, it's buzzing. There's a low-grade anxiety under the surface. It's, I hope they like me. I hope this is enough. Did I say the right thing? It's a performance.
Exactly. That is a sympathetic nervous system state. It's a low-level fight or flight. You're mobilized, you're rushing, you're leaning forward. And here is the kicker. Humans co-regulate.
What does that mean? Co-regulate.
It means my nervous system directly affects yours and yours affects mine. So if you walk into that high-stakes pitch meeting and you are vibrating with that high-performance stress, even if you're smiling, even if your voice is steady, your biology is screaming danger or lack.
So they feel it even if they can't name it?
They feel it. The source calls this leaking service provider desperation.
Oh, leaking service provider desperation.
Yeah.
That is a visceral image. It's like, dogs can smell fear.
It is exactly like that.
Yep.
The client might not consciously know why they feel uneasy, but their nervous system picks up on your neediness. And if you need the deal, you cannot lead the client.
Because if I need the deal, I'm dependent on them. And if I'm dependent, I can't be the elder. I'm back to being the subordinate.
Precisely. You've given away your status before you've even opened your mouth.
So what's the alternative? What is the physiology of this elder state?
The source points to what's called the social engagement system. This is the ventral vagal state of the nervous system. It's a state of connection, of safety, of regulation. It's what communicates authority and trustworthiness without a single word.
So you aren't manic, you aren't rushing.
Yeah.
Just there, you're present.
You are grounded. And the source introduces this really fascinating concept here called collapsing time.
Collapsing time. That sounds like something out of science fiction.
It's experiential, not literal. The idea is that when your nervous system is regulated, when you are operating from what they call a sovereign baseline, your very presence creates a container.
A container for what?
For safety, for clarity. When a client walks into that container, they feel it instantly. Their own nervous system starts to co-regulate with yours. They experience a transformation, a feeling of calm, of possibility, before you've even started your presentation.
So the work isn't in the slide deck. The work is the room.
The work is you being the room. Think about a time you were really, really stressed out and you sat down with someone who was just completely calm. Not indifferent, not checked out, but deeply, solidly calm. What happened to you?
I calmed down. My shoulders dropped. I could actually think straight again.
You co-regulated with them, they collapsed the time it would have taken you to calm yourself down. And that's the difference. The expert sells information. Here is the data. Here are the steps. The elder sells a regulated high-frequency state. The client pays for access to that regulation because it allows them to regulate. It allows them to make million-dollar decisions with clarity instead of panic.
That is the inarguable authority. You don't have to argue that you're good. Your physiology is broadcasting it for you.
Exactly.
Well,
But, and this is the hard part, getting to that state and more importantly, staying in that sovereign baseline when the stakes are high, when you really need the contract, that's the whole ballgame.
it's easy to be zen when you're on a beach with no pressure.
It's hard to be zen when rent is due.
Which brings us perfectly to this narrative in the source material, the story of the trains. I love this story because it takes all of this abstract neuroscience and just makes it incredibly concrete and human.
Yeah, it's a story from the Lisa Bloom framework, and it's about this concept of the story of who. It's about a specific pivot point in someone's identity.
Okay, so let's set the scene for the listener.
So the protagonist in the story, we can call her Sarah, has booked this massive, massive opportunity, a high-profile photo shoot in London. This is the big-time moment.
The validation.
Total validation, nightlights, power poses, an expensive, well-known photographer. It is the external proof that the expert craves so badly.
It's the "I finally made it" moment. She's doing all the right things to look the part.
Yes, exactly. She's performing success. But the night before this huge shoot, she has a dream, a very vivid, very specific dream.
Okay.
In the dream, she's trying to get to London for the shoot, but every single train is canceled. She's looking at the app on her phone, and the screen just goes black. The schedule board at the station is completely blank.
Wow. I mean, that is a classic anxiety dream if I've ever heard one.
Total anxiety dream. She wakes up the morning of the shoot. Now, I want to pause here. If you wake up on the morning of the biggest meeting of your life after having a dream that you missed the meeting, what does the expert part of your brain immediately do?
Oh, full-blown panic mode. I'm grabbing my phone before my eyes are even fully open. I'm checking the train app. I'm checking Uber prices. I'm checking traffic reports. Probably calling the station. I start problem solving before I'm even out of bed.
What's the mantra in your head?
I will not let this fail. I will hustle my way through this. I'll find a way.
That is the expert reaction. Hustle, force a way through, push through the fear to feel empowered. We so often mistake that frantic panic for ambition. We think, look at me, I'm a leader, I'm solving the
But
problem.
really, I'm just reacting to fear. I'm letting the fear drive the car.
Correct. But Sarah, in the story, does something radically different. She wakes up with what the source calls a quiet, hidden knowing. She feels that impulse, that panic to check her phone, and she recognizes it's coming from fear, so she makes a decision.
What does she do?
She decides not to check.
Wait, what? That sounds, I mean, from the outside, that sounds completely irresponsible.
To the expert, it looks insane. It looks like negligence. But she decides to sit with herself. She doesn't rush. She gets dressed. She makes and drinks her coffee. She walks to the station. She decides to maintain her sovereign baseline rather than giving it away to the panic of the unknown.
She chooses to trust herself more than she fears the outcome.
Beautifully put. She arrives at the station, and this is the real Twilight Zone moment. She walks up to the main departure board.
And don't leave me hanging.
It's blank. A rail is broken somewhere up the line. All trains to London are canceled indefinitely.
No way. The dream was real.
The dream was real. But here's where it gets really, really interesting for me. The source is very clear that the win wasn't that she was psychic. We are not teaching listeners how to predict train schedules with their dreams.
Right. The point isn't trust your dreams, they predict the future. That's not the takeaway.
Not at all. The point is what the source calls the vulnerable insight. The win was that the protagonist moved toward this big moment of visibility. She still went to the station without abandoning herself to panic.
The expert version of her would have shown up at that station.
How?
Sweaty, frantic, depleted, heart pounding, already in a state of high beta stress. She would have been a mess. But she arrived, grounded, calm.
She was ready for reality, whatever that reality turned out to be.
That is the definition of agency in this elder model. Agency isn't controlling the external reality. You can't control the trains. Agency is remaining self-led, regardless of what the trains do.
That's the core distinction, isn't it? It's the difference between inhabiting confidence and performing confidence. The expert performs confidence. Look at me hustle, I can fix this. The elder inhabits confidence. I am okay. I am here. We will see what happens.
And that energy, that profound lack of neediness is what commands the £25,000 fee, because it signals to the client, my well-being is not dependent on you or this outcome. I am a sovereign entity. It's incredibly profound. But I know what our listeners are thinking right now. They're thinking, okay, I get the vibe. Be calm, be sovereign, don't panic. Got it. But I have a business to run. I have invoices to send. How do I actually translate this elder energy into a contract?
That is exactly the right question to ask, because you can't just meditate your way to $1 million. You need a structure, a container for this new identity. And that's where the source outlines the 4 pillars of the elder.
Okay, the practical stuff.
These are the tangible, structural shifts you need to make in your business to actually architect this authority.
Let's walk through them. Pillar number 1, the death of justification.
This is probably the most common trap for experts. We love to explain. We love our process.
We do.
Yeah.
If I'm going to charge a lot of money, I feel this deep need to show my work. Here's my 7-step process. Here are all the phases. Here's the research I did. It feels like I'm building value.
We think we're demonstrating value.
Yeah.
But the source argues that the act of explaining your process to justify your price actually places you on the sovereign low ground.
Sovereign low ground. That
Yeah.
sounds like a major disadvantage in a negotiation.
It is, because when you explain subtextually, you are asking for approval. You're saying, please look at all this hard work I'm planning to do. Do you agree that it's worth the money I'm asking for? Please say yes.
Oof. When you put it that way, it sounds, well, it sounds pathetic. It sounds needy.
It's a status drop. Elders state value, they do not explain the labor behind it.
Can you give me an example? Like, what does that actually sound like in a sales conversation?
Okay, think back to the heart surgeon. If you need a triple bypass, you're terrified. You're in the surgeon's office and you ask, can you help me? Does that surgeon pull out a whiteboard and start explaining the molecular structure of the anesthesia?
No.
Does he walk you through his preferred suturing technique to justify his 6-figure bill?
No, of course not. He'd probably just look at me and say something like, I can fix this. It's risky, but I'm the best there is. We'll do it on Tuesday.
Exactly. I can save your life. This is the cost.
Right.
He states the outcome. He doesn't justify the process. The source says you have to become comfortable with the silence that comes after you state your price.
State the price and then just shut up.
The vacuum. We'll get to that in Pillar 4. But yes, essentially, stop selling the how, sell the what, and more importantly, the who. If you find yourself over-explaining your methodology on a sales call, that's your red flag. You are leaking authority.
Okay. That's a big one. Pillar 2, the architecture of authority. This sounds more like systems and processes.
It is, but specifically in regard to your intellectual property. The goal here is to move your proprietary mastery, all that genius that lives in your head, out of your head and into a container.
A container. What do you mean by that? Is that like an online course or a book?
It could be. Or it could be a diagnostic tool, a signature framework, a piece of software, a scorecard. The key characteristic of the container is that it must be able to function and deliver value without the expert's constant pulse or manual labor.
Ah, okay. So if I have to be in the room or on the call to make the thing work, it's not a container.
Correct. Then it's just your labor in a different package. You're still the technician turning the wrench. The elder builds a structure that holds the client. The structure does the heavy lifting, the data gathering, the basic teaching, the framework application. And this frees the elder up to do what?
To provide the high-level insight, the wisdom, the stuff you can't automate.
Exactly. You are no longer paid for the heavy lifting. You are paid for the precision of your insight. This is how you finally escape the time for money trap. You sell access to the container, which creates the baseline value, and then you charge a massive premium for your specific, low-labor, high-impact presence on top of that.
That makes perfect sense. You can't scale if you are the engine of the car. You have to build the engine, and then your job is just to be the pilot.
Precisely. Which leads us right into pillar 3, capacity for impact.
This one feels like it's more about money psychology, isn't it?
It is, and this is where the nervous system comes roaring back into the picture. The fundamental shift here is from doing mode to holding mode.
We keep coming back to this idea of holding.
Because it is the central capability of the elder. The source points out a very real danger that most people don't anticipate. Leaders, entrepreneurs, they often collapse under the weight of their own high-income months.
Collapsing? What do you mean? Like they burn out?
It can be burnout or it can be a more subtle self-sabotage. Let's say you do all this right. You stop overworking. You build and sell a container. You land a huge contract, and suddenly you have a 50,000-pound month. And you didn't sweat for it in the way you're used to.
That sounds like the absolute dream. What's the problem?
Consciously, it's the dream, but subconsciously, if your nervous system has been wired to associate money with heavy lifting, if deep down you believe wealth is a reward for suffering and struggle, then receiving a lot of money without that suffering feels unsafe. It feels wrong. It feels fraudulent.
The imposter syndrome kicks in. I didn't earn this. I'm a fraud. The other shoe is about to drop.
All of it. And so what do you do subconsciously to feel safe again?
Yeah.
You create chaos to pay for the money you received. You pick a fight with your partner. You break a critical system in your business so you have to rush in and work all weekend to fix it. You burn through the money on frivolous things.
You return your life to the baseline of struggle because struggle feels familiar and therefore safe.
Yes. The elder must fundamentally redefine their relationship with wealth. Wealth is not a reward for the volume of your work. Wealth is a byproduct of your sovereign space. You literally have to train your nervous system to tolerate ease.
Tolerate ease. That is a workout I think I need to start doing.
It is the hardest workout there is for a high performer. It goes against every instinct we have.
Okay. Pillar 4, the power of the vacuum. This is my favorite title of the 4. It's so intriguing.
It's very provocative. The goal, as stated in the source, is to become the person in the room who does the least but sees the most.
Does the least but sees the most. My old boss definitely would have called that laziness.
In a factory, it's laziness. In a high-stakes boardroom, it is the highest form of leverage. Think about the expert in a meeting. What are they doing?
They're talking a lot. They're probably writing on the whiteboard. They're taking copious notes. They're trying to manage the energy of the room.
They are busy. They are doing. And if your head is down, busy doing, you cannot see the larger pattern. You cannot see the strategic gap. You're too busy rowing the boat to notice you're heading for a waterfall.
So the elder intentionally creates a vacuum.
Yes. The elder creates space. They utilize silence as a tool. They ask a powerful question, and then they just wait. They let the client talk. They let the confusion and the uncertainty air itself out. They do not rush in to fill the silence with easy solutions.
That is deeply uncomfortable for most people.
It is highly uncomfortable. We are conditioned to fill silence. But in that vacuum, that's where the truth comes out. The client eventually reveals what is actually wrong, not just the surface level problem. And because the elder has been watching and listening and holding rather than doing, when they finally do speak.
It's the sniper shot. It's not a machine gun spray.
It's one insight, One sentence that changes everything. And that one sentence is worth the 25,000 pounds. The machine gun spray of helpful advice and good ideas is worth an hourly wage at best.
Wow. That's the difference between volume and frequency right there.
Exactly. The core of the whole thing.
Okay, so we have the pillars, the death of justification, the architecture of authority, capacity for impact, and the power of the vacuum. This is a complete restructure of how we show up and how we build our businesses.
Yeah.
But I want to give the listener something they can do right now, today.
Immediate application.
Yes, because we've talked a lot of high-level theory. How do we start practicing this? How do we build this muscle?
The source provides a really beautiful practical exercise for this. It's called the 60-second frequency shift.
A shift we can actually do in 1 minute. I'm in.
Yes. And you can do this right before you jump on a Zoom call, before you sit down to write a big proposal, or even right in the middle of a tense meeting if you feel yourself spiraling back into that frantic expert mode.
Okay, walk us through it. Listeners, if you aren't driving right now, maybe just try this with us.
Okay. Step 1. For just 60 seconds, consciously stop trying to solve the client's problem. Just for a moment. Let it go. Drop the need to fix it.
That is so hard. My brain is wired to fix. It's what I do.
I know it is, but just for this minute, set the burden down. You don't have to carry it right now. Okay, step 2. Imagine your nervous system as a vast, stable container.
What does that look like? What's the imagery?
The source uses the image of a deep, dark ocean. The surface might be choppy and chaotic. That's the client's panic, the deadline, the stress of the project. But you're not on the surface. You drop down. 50 feet, 100 feet down. And down there, it is heavy. It is completely unshakable.
Okay, I can picture that. The deep, quiet part of the ocean.
That's your sovereign baseline. Now, step 3. Physically engage your body in this. Sit back.
Sit back.
Literally lean back in your chair. The expert leans forward. It's a, I want, I need, let me help energy. It's a reaching energy. The elder leans back. It's an energy of I have, I hold, come to me.
You know, it's amazing. Just doing that right now, it changes your breathing immediately. You can't really hyperventilate when you're leaning back in a relaxed pose.
It's a biological hack. It signals to your own nervous system. I am safe. I am not in danger. I am the prize. I am the anchor here.
And the source also talks about checking in for a feeling of weight versus lightness.
Yes. This is your personal diagnostic tool. If you check in with your body when you are in expert mode, hustling, fixing, justifying, it feels heavy. It feels like a weight on your chest. It feels like you're dragging something.
The burden of competence, the weight of being the fixer.
Correct. But the elder identity, and this is the paradox, the source describes the internal experience of it as feeling like lightness.
Lightness, that seems counterintuitive. We've been talking about holding power and being heavy like an anchor.
The impact is heavy. The authority is heavy. But your internal experience of it is light. Why? Because you aren't carrying the client on your back anymore. You are holding the space for the client to carry themselves.
Ah, that is a critical distinction. You aren't dragging them up the mountain. You are standing at the top, lighting the path and saying, walk here, it's safe.
Exactly. And that distinction is the only way to survive at these high altitudes of business. If you carry every single client, you will burn out. It's inevitable. You cannot be an elder if you are dead from stress.
It's so true. So this whole shift, it isn't just about making more money. It's about longevity. It's about building a business and a career that actually sustains you rather than drains you dry.
That is the ultimate goal. The transition from a 10,000-pound technician to a 25,000-pound-plus elder is a profound identity shift. It's about moving from being useful, which at the end of the day is a commodity, to being inarguable.
Inarguable. I want to just linger on that word for a second. That's a powerful word.
Inarguable means your authority is self-evident. You don't have to explain it. You don't have to fight for it. You don't have to put it in a 20-page PowerPoint deck. It just is.
You are?
Because you are.
This has been heavy in a really good way. We've gone from the competence cage all the way through the neuroscience of safety, the story of the trains, the 4 practical pillars, and this frequency shift exercise. For the listener who is currently staring at a to-do list a mile long and they're thinking, I don't have time to be an elder, I have actual work to do, what is the final word for them?
The final word is that the path to your next level of income and impact is not on that to-do list.
That is both terrifying and incredibly liberating at the same time.
It is. The challenge for you, the listener, is this. Are you justifying your worth, or are you architecting your authority? Are you working for your frequency, trying to do enough things to finally earn the right to relax? Or are you willing to start being the frequency right now and let the right work flow from there?
It's the ultimate be, do, have flip. Stop doing in order to be. Start being, and then do from that place.
And just remember the final thought from the source material. True authority is silent. It is regulated, and it requires no explanation.
True authority requires no explanation. We're going to let that sit in the vacuum for a minute. Thank you so much for diving deep with us today. This has been an absolute masterclass in shifting from the hustle to the holding.
My pleasure. It was a great conversation.
For our listeners, take a moment today. Seriously. Try the 60-second shift. Lean back. See what happens when you stop trying to save the world for a minute and just start holding it. You might find the world is more capable of saving itself than you think. We'll see you on the next deep dive.
See you then.
So when Gina offered me the opportunity to do this, I jumped for it because I think anything that you can do that is going to chip away at these limiting the beliefs of things that hold you back is really, really worth doing. So it's been a really lovely experience, and if anybody's a bit worried about it, just do it, because the opportunity to connect through havening is really, really powerful. It's really, really powerful.
But really helpful, I think, in terms of having that kind of guided process just to kind of let the ideas and the feelings and the images flow, and then try and work out what it actually means afterwards, and to come up with, and it made intuitive sense. It's really, really helpful to then kind of have that debrief of, okay, what can we actually do with this stuff? Because that's where we tend to get stuck, is kind of like coming out of it going, oh, this is all some really interesting ideas and thoughts and feelings and images. But yeah, then, you know, how can we actually harness them to do something different? And I think that's been really, really helpful in terms of clarifying really what I need to prioritize to go forward in a way that will deal with some of that stuff that came up.
I would like to point out that I'm actually a therapist myself, and sometimes therapists also need a therapist. So I was really stuck, and then one day a friend posted a link for Gina's wealth and money attracting short course, and I went, this sounds great, I'm just gonna book it. And I loved it so much. I really had an epiphany on that course, and it was only meant to be a demonstration, and yet it was really it just opened up something, possibilities that I was stuck before, and now like, ooh, I can use this to unstuck myself. I'm a great believer that when the student is ready, the teacher appears, and you appeared at the right time. That's all there is to it. So, you know, if anybody is watching this video, it means Gina has appeared in your life. So please give it a try.
She walks where the sky meets the sea, a calm in the chaos, wild and free. The light wraps around her soul. She's ready